Hey y'all, I hope everybody's doing well. So today's video, as you can see by the sketch, we have got Welt from Honkai Star Rail. So Welt, he's a really interesting character. It's kind of a mystery in himself. They claim that he may also be from another game too that intertwines on all the Hoyoverse. I feel like a lot of the Hoyoverse kind of intertwines together. But Welt Yang, if I'm not mistaken. He's a playable character in Honkai Star Rail, and he is of the path of nihility, and also a combat type of imaginary. Um, Also reminds me of the Hunt, but it does say path of nihility. But a lot of the stuff on him says it's like very interesting and imaginary, and they don't know what's going on. So he must have a very, very interesting backstory. It claims that one of the other games that Hoyoverse has put out that he goes through a portal, and they say that the portal leads to the world of Honkai Star Rail. So we shall see whenever his story comes available. Like I said, I'm still learning more about the characters and how everything's done, and still working on getting Boot Hill. I have yet to get Boot Hill, but that's a challenge I am embracing. So as we can see, like I said, we're drawing Welt from Honkai Star Rail, and honestly, I got the inspiration from, I hope I don't butcher this person's username, from Ren's Spirit Art. I got the inspiration from her. I really wanted to kind of do like a study, and then at first I was going to recreate the same drawing that they did, but then I was like, I couldn't get the perspective of stuff in my head. Sorry, I can't talk. Get it right in my head. So instead, with her drawing, she has him sitting on the couch, and honestly, their couches are very, very large, and which I think Hoyoverse, all the furniture, everything is excessively large, like made for giants. But I started, and I was like, oh, I can't wrap my head around this perspective, and so I wanted to do something a little bit different. Like I said, take inspiration from them, but to do it in my style. So I decided to do him looking out the window, and then there's a planet. Now, needless to say, this would require a lot more practice, but I do feel like I'm on the right path of how best to bring drawings to life, and bring a concept to it. But yes, erasing part of this, and then also eventually what I end up doing is after I get done the background, I start working on Welt himself, and then I end up having to duplicate the background because I was like, how am I going to have this reflective piece to where it has him looking at a planet, and yet the planet be kind of bright and colorful. And then I end up putting the rest of the parlor car in the background as well. But yes, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's wishing and warp adventures are going good. Needless to say, it's so funny how you don't do wishes in Honkai Star Rail, you do warps, and then you get the tickets. Was it the Star Rail tickets? And then of course in Genshin you wish with the fates, the intertwined fates. And hopefully if you're wishing over on Genshin, it's going well. Currently it is, I butcher her name every time, Chlorine, and Alhaitham. And I ended up getting set those. So I did get at least one of the characters from the games that I really, really wanted. And like I said, currently on this other one, I'm working on getting Boot Hill. And I would butcher her name, but I said it in the last video. But yes, so with Welt, his outfit is actually pretty simple. It just has a lot of, how can I say this best? Curvy elements to it. A lot of, because he has a big old scarf, and then he's got another, it almost reminds me of the ascot, the way it's draped up under the scarf, and then he's got, it almost looks like a, not really a metal chest piece, but kind of reminds me of the, oh, what are they called? Like the corsets. It kind of reminds me of the male corsets. Oh, that'd be a good drawing idea. Male characters in the male corsets, but that's the kind of vibe I get. It almost reminds me too of the way Boot Hill's armor is, but of course, well, as far as I know, I don't think he has armor like him, like built down under his vest area. But anyways, so I will say I tried to play with the lighting setup a little bit more on this video. I have had comments before where people would mention that it's a little bit too dark or either too bright, so hopefully this one is a little bit better. With each video, it's a continued learning curve, and if y'all see anything that I could do differently or anything that you'd like to see done differently, just let me know in the future. I am currently waiting for a light and a new webcam camera to come in, because the one I have is, needless to say, it was the cheapest one I could find because I originally used it for gaming, and then I had to rig up a setting for filming of making these videos. So yes, just let me know in the comments, and I do read the comments, and I try to take everything that y'all recommend or mention into account and make adjustments for future videos. The reason for not showing the sketch in the beginning, I actually forgot to do the time-lapse replay in the beginning, but of course I do it at the end, and I found out how to export it from my Procreate to get to the computer, because working on a couple of different programs, and it's very hard sometimes to get things transferred correctly. So I found out how to do that, and so the official time-lapse will be at the end of this video, and then of course I go through it as well after finishing the drawing. So overall, this drawing took me about, I want to say about 5 hours to complete. But as I was trying to mention before, the sketches, so why I didn't have a video recording of that, I actually started it after finishing another drawing, and it was just on a whim. Got inspired, like I said, by the Ren Spirit Art artist, and then whenever I was doing it, then it was a couple hours later, I was like, oh, I'll finish it tomorrow on the sketch and practicing with it, because I wasn't even sure of what I wanted to really do. And then afterwards, I ended up having to go to work, and so I got to work on this some at work. And so yeah, I said I will just do the coloring process. So instead of a full draw with me, this is more like a color with me session, which I feel like it still helps to be able to see the coloring process, because I mean, anybody can do a sketch and a drawing, and I feel like a lot of times the rendering is what helps. And I'm thinking that for Sundays, Venti's birthday's coming up from Genshin Impact, so I will have hopefully, I would like to have a full drawing session. Needless to say, I do have a sketch kind of outlined, but it's not complete, so I may just finish that on a recording with the new camera, and we'll see how that does with the new camera and setup and everything. Let's see here. So we're working on the eyes. Once again, with the eyes, we do not do like a bright white color. You do more of like sometimes I use the dark purple gray, kind of purple gray, or even take the blue from the background. That's one option as well. And I have been liking how I do the noses and the mouth lately. I do feel like I like having the nose in it, because like I said before, I can't do the invisible nose or mouth. Like, my brain does not execute it very well. I've tried, I really have tried to have a full-on anime kind of style, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And I'm like, you know what, that's okay. We all have our own styles and our own ways of doing something. You could try to copy somebody verbatim of what they do or how somebody does something. Copy like your favorite anime or manga style. And what I mean is, I'm not saying like carbon copy, but like the style of it, and try to make it your own, and you still will have variations. Like, it's kind of hard to have it exactly identical unless that is 100% your style. But I do like the semi-realistic yet the anime style, so I'm trying to learn to incorporate the both of them. Let's see here. So I do some base colors first. I will say I did this on 2 separate days as well, but I try to keep the lighting consistent. I think towards the end of the drawing, the lighting looked a little bit more blown out because of the coloring that I was using. It was a lot lighter, so it was kind of hard for this camera to pick it up, which is what I'm hoping that the new camera does better. It says that it can pick up on better images and everything, because I've played with so many settings. I've watched so many videos on how best to improve your recording setup as far as when recording onto your iPad, or how can I say this? When recording your drawing process on your iPad, tablet, or any other screen. So, and a lot of them actually have like cameras. And one person I saw, like, his videos looked really, really good. But I was not going to spend no $800 on a camera just to use for filming videos. So I found the other webcam option, and we're going to play with that tomorrow whenever it comes in, and I hope that it works well. Because I would like for even the wording, like on gallery and my layers I use, I would really like for the wording to be more visible and clear. So honestly, with hair, I will say I started out using one color, and then I'm like, you know, I really just want to play with colors. I kind of use this drawing, I feel like this is an excuse to just play with colors. So I end up pulling colors from the background, I end up pulling colors from Welt himself, and I go back and forth with my purple colors and with the brighter colors as well. So with Welt, his hair, the way it lays is a little different. He's got a lot of the hair wispies and little, I don't know what they're called, like the arches in the hair that makes it look like it has like a darker spot to it. He has a lot of that as well. And then of course he's got this white patch of hair on the front. So I ended up doing, like I said, a multitude of different colors. For the white patch on the front of his hair, I actually pulled from the background. I'm learning that whenever you do the background first, it helps to set your colors better. And then after doing the background, whenever you're pulling colors from the background and put it into your drawing, that's where you just use a lower opacity on your brush, and then whenever you brush over it, it helps to create a color variation. I will say, I do apologize if my voice kind of cuts out here and there, or if I have a lisp every once in a while. I ended up going to the dentist and having some fillings redone, and they numbed me up real good. It's still a little bit numb here and there, but it's not terrible. That's the only thing that just like, see what I did here? So I took the background color, I put it over the color, and I selected. I didn't go for the darkest colors, and I still try to do variations of it. I'm trying to get better about doing, some people call it like the Hyundai H's for the highlights, and I'm trying to get better about this, to have a specific curve of things. But sometimes I do find it hard to initiate it, because then I look at it, I'm like, this doesn't resemble any of this, but you'll see as the time goes on, it does get better. And like I say, I do add a bunch of colors on top of it. But then whenever I was doing that, I was like, wait, I duplicated my background so that I could put it in the foreground. So whenever I turned that down, it actually put a different layering of color on top of it. So I would like to try to redraw something like this in the future, with the standing at the window with either the universe or somewhere in Genshin outside the window, some kind of reflection, to where you could see the main character, yet see the reflection. I would like to visit this again, because it was very interesting to try to bring it to life and bring it from idea to reality. Needless to say, finding references for something like this is very hard to do. I at first thought that I could go to the parlor car in Honkai Star Rail and kind of like zoom out the way you do in Genshin if you're inside of a building, and to get a picture of the character. Yeah, that was not happening. I'm sure that there probably is a way to be able to do that, but currently I have not figured that out. Let's see here. So we're just working on some shading. Once again, I think I'm still just working on these base colors and trying to figure out what's best to lay down, and then I end up rendering on top after a bit. Yeah, but we're still working on that. I end up doing a lighter light color over the glasses to make it look like lenses, and then honestly I think whenever I put that very, very first layer on top of everything, as far as the reflection, some of it kind of gets hidden, so I went back and tried to add some highlight of the color I was really trying to emphasize certain parts of this drawing. I did go back over some of the outlines and did it like an orangey color. Because honestly, I will say I try to stick to the outlines, but that doesn't always happen. For Welt, I will say the most difficult part of this drawing itself was whenever I was doing, it's like a brooch on his scarf. It was very, very difficult for me to get the angle down and to find a good reference. That's where I will say, when you have the character, it is so much easier to be able to draw them, because you can like zoom in, do different angles, and get certain perspectives. But I do not have Welt at this moment. And one day maybe I'll get him. Of course, he's on the mainly on the basic banner, I think it is. But yes. Anybody caught up on the lore and everything that's happening with Fairy Tail? That's another character that's very interesting as well, with a tragic backstory. I think if I don't get Boot Hill on this banner, and if Fairy Tail's on the next one, I would definitely try to pull for Fairy Tail. Because I really do like her character, her persona, and once again, just having the characters for drawing references is so much easier. I do that a lot in Genshin. I've got so many Genshin characters, so a lot of them that I draw pretty much do have. So I end up pulling them up and using them as reference. I'm able to turn around and do whatever I have to do to be able to get the best angle on them. But I will say, some of them, like Lisa, whenever I was trying to draw her in her hat pose, I had the angle down for like a second, and then she turns away from the camera. I think Lisa is camera shy, honestly. So hers was a lot of figuring out best of angles. I noticed too, a lot of the characters in Honkai Star Rail, they have this little symbol on all their outfits. It almost looks like a little keyhole. Even on Boot Hill, on his design, he's got it as well. And I just wonder if that's part of their backstory. So here, I had some issues with coloring this at first, because I was like, I didn't want it to be a dark brown. And so I went more to the redder aspect, and I took the blue from the background, just made it a little bit lighter for the little buckle on it. So I was trying to keep in mind the lighting as to how it's coming in and where it's coming from. And then once we get more into the video and you see that I put the background layer on top of it, it ends up doing a bit of a color change. Yeah, I'm looking up the reference. So this is what I was talking about. So I wanted it to make more reflective on him, because whenever you're looking through a window and somebody's on the other side, the reflection of whatever's on the other side of the window, it is there, it is apparent. And I wanted it to be somewhat of a strong reflection at first, and then I was like, no, this misses a whole bunch of stuff. So I ended up turning the opacity down. And eventually I do put like a multiply layer on top, and add layer, and to enhance certain aspects of it. And truthfully, if I wanted to at that point in time, I could have like marked this as like, oh, I'm done. But yeah, no, I was like, nope, not done yet. Because I really wanted more details. I'm trying to not focus on pushing certain details to the side. So I took like a splatter brush that's in Procreate, and I ended up doing some splatter motions across. And then, because I wanted it to be like stars in the galaxy, so I did a good bit of chromatic aberration to kind of displace it some, I guess you could say. And then I ended up blooming it real good, and then I do a Gaussian blur as well. So I do turn down the opacity, so this is where I said that some of it's pretty blown out. And I tried to make adjustments, but it's just certain aspects of it, it ends up looking more blown out, because where I have the edge of the planet is on there, and But like I said, at the end we will have the official time lapse of this drawing. I was so proud of myself when I figured out how to get it on the computer. I wish that Procreate was built for PC and desktop, because that would make it so much easier, because I do have a drawing desktop tablet. But I do like the portability of the iPad. It does make it nice. In person, I promise, it's not as blown out as this. It's unreal when looking back at this. I do apologize. It was not my intention for it to be so blown out. I worry about sometimes doing some edits of it. So I think actually that one was from a... Oh, okay, so needless to say, I'm a subscriber to the Samdoesart page, and he does have his brushes on there as well, and so that's where the splatter brush came from. It's like a, I think he has it like a toothbrush bristle, because I couldn't find a brush in Procreate that gave me this effect that I really wanted. Now there are some brushes in there that does like a spray can effect on it. Spray paint, spray can, what the heck? Spray paint effect on it, but it wasn't an effect that I was really looking for, so I did end up using that brush from that one that I follow as well. Needless to say, in the past, I will say year, I've had a lot of good inspiration from online, and it's really helped me to get my art to where it is now, and getting more to the aspect of art that I want to be at, because as I had mentioned quite a while ago, I do have a manga idea that I would like to create, and after a while I figured I need to start drawing in the style that I want to put out there, because once you start drawing in the style, it all comes together a lot better. Yeah, so I do end up turning it down some more after a bit. If I would have thought about it, I should have turned down the opacity on my iPad right there. But honestly, I was in a drawing mood. You know, it's one of those things that you get really into the mood of stuff, and you kind of forget certain things. And I need to get better about not forgetting certain aspects when filming. But I really, really, really hope that this new setup that I'm going to have, as far as for filming, I hope it does do better. Oh, I've also got a drawing of, it was Luca I wanted to kind of do as well. And I will probably do a video on that at some point. I really do like the Honkai Star Rail. It's my new obsession. Genshin will always be like my favorite. So this is where I decided to put in the background. Sorry, I jumped from one thing to the other. And whenever I got to thinking, there is a window on the parlor car that has a planet visible, which honestly the planet, now that I think about, is probably on the other side. But it would be behind the seating area. And so on the seating area, it's got these plants on top of it. So I ended up using like it's not really a dark green, kind of a semi-dark bright green. And I just do the random shapes. And then I was like, there's something else that I'm missing. So then I got to thinking, there's the other seating area that's also the parlor car. So I ended up putting that in there as well. And then I do the same thing with the plant idea. Of course, the parlor car, it's got like the train seat. And then on the seats, it's got the gold buttons on it. And I contemplated adding that, but then I said it really wouldn't be 100% visible, and it's not the main focus of the drawing, so I end up not doing that. But I was glad that I ended up putting this in the background, because then it kind of breaks certain aspects of the drawing up. It makes it look like he's actually looking through the window. And I just kind of do some random shapes. Yeah, I ended up changing the coloring. Just some random shapes all throughout, because they have a variation of plants on the back of the seating area, which I would never thought of putting plants on a seat like that. But of course their seats are pretty big. do have large seats. Hence why, as I said in the beginning, it was kind of hard for me to wrap my mind and head around the idea of him sitting on the seat itself. But like Ren Spirit Art, she does amazing on that. Like she really executed that well. And I just took the idea of Welt on the train idea, and I was just like, let me do it this way instead. Because as I mentioned before, we learn from people, and then we make our own drawings as to how we want them to be. So you take inspiration and create however you want it to be. Because it's no fun having multiple carbon copies of people out there. If we were all the same, the world would be a very boring place. Now, I did do the chromatic aberration in the background as well. I have been really liking the chromatic aberration. But sometimes I do go a little ham with it. I ain't gonna lie. And then I just go around erasing the edges. Because honestly, what I should have done, I should have done it like squared it out and made a base outline for it. And then I decided to erase part of the back chairs because I wanted some of the other parts to be in focus. Also, another reason why I did the planet this way, I actually got inspiration from the card that is used in Honkai Star Rail, that's March 7th card. I actually got inspiration from her looking through the window. So that's whenever I pulled that up, I ended up trying to use that as a good reference for it. Because I imagine that she is like on Herta's, was it Herta's space station? Or it may not be what it's called, like I said, I butcher names and everything. But I imagine her being on that space station and looking out the window, and or they're even on the parlor car. Like, they see some amazing stuff, and the graphics for this is like, wow. It is absolutely amazing. So what I end up doing, eventually you'll see. See, I increased the hue and saturation because Welt was a little hidden behind the brightness of it. And then I go back over after duplicating everything and I group it, and I duplicate that and I actually draw on top of everything. So here I am going back through refining certain parts, and but yes, I hope y'all like these drawing videos. I do like them. I like creating them. As I mentioned before, it kind of holds accountability to me because I had a goal in mind to be able to post so much a week and to draw and, you know, just have fun. That's the main thing with drawing. Just have fun with it. The drawing may not be 100% perfect, or it may not be how exactly we want it to come out, but the more you do something on repetition, the more you practice it, and the more you do the style that you're wanting to draw in, it makes a difference. It really does. And if you find other creators who draw in the style that you're really wanting to draw, use them as studies. If they post tutorials or videos, really hone in on it and learn from them. And then just make it your own. Does anybody else have issues with Procreate with trying to color select? Sometimes I feel like it doesn't want to register my finger all the way. But it may just be a user error. Like I've mentioned before, I am not tech savvy. I sure am not. And I will say on Welt's outfit, this part of his outfit with the medallions, I don't know what they're called exactly, but I did have difficulty when drawing it because of the angle, and like I said, I don't have the character, and trying to, even whenever he's like in a still mode on the parlor car, it's still kind of hard to capture the exact angle of stuff. So right there, I mean, it's a pretty good lesson that not every color is exactly as you think it is. Because you're thinking like a brown, so you're thinking like a reddish, but because I have that blue hue on top from the planet being over it, it actually went to the blue scale. And I can't, well, honestly, whenever I did the final look over, let's see here. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and fix that. I just realized looking at this, I missed a part of it, which honestly, with the way the light's hitting, it's probably fine. I'm not gonna point it out, because if I point it out, then everybody's gonna see it and be like, why'd you do it that way? So once again, here's the parts that, like as I mentioned before, it's kind of blown out, and it was not my intention for it to be so blown out, because in person, honestly, it's not that bright. It is very interesting how even on my different monitors, I go from one monitor to another, and the color hues and saturations is completely different. On some things, it will look a lot brighter, and then whenever I put it on another monitor, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so dark. I need to get, if anybody has any recommendations for a good monitor screen that has a pretty good color saturation and pretty accurate, please let me know in the comments, because it would be helpful. So here I am, I'm just going back through, looking at trying to fine tune some stuff and go from there. I would really like to draw Welt again. This one was fun. I really had a fun time trying to bring the character to life in this pose and everything. And also to just play with colors. As I've mentioned before, I used to be very bad about doing the very low saturation muted colors. And at first I was thinking, hey, it looks good. And then whenever you go look at it, it's like, it kind of looks lifeless. So I'm really trying to in the color, well, wheel or that color square. What is it called? It's the classic color selection tool. So I'd really try to focus being in the, I'm going to say the middle portion of it, the upper middle. Try not to be too dark or too light. And then just embrace the colors. I'm just working on some of the shading aspects of it. And as I mentioned before, more you practice something, the better things get executed and it all comes together. If y'all do have Welt, what team do you use him with? I have got two main ones that I use, and that's Natasha and Jeppard, because he's got a really good shield and she is a really good healer. I haven't had too much experience with a whole bunch of them. I did get Luca on one of the pools, so I've been playing with him as well, and then working on leveling everybody up. I'm at a point in the story where it says that I have to have level 76 or higher characters, so I'm trying to get these characters leveled up so that I can continue the story, because it really is awful whenever you have spent so much time working on one of the stories and then you get to a point and it's like you can't beat them no matter what. I know for a while there, trying to fight the, oh, what is he? He's like the beauty knight or something like that. I can't remember him 100%. I do apologize. But trying to fight him, I died so many times and I just couldn't figure it out. And one time I think I selected the correct response on the gameplay and it kind of all worked out and I didn't have to fight him anymore. I think maybe the game was feeling sorry for me, but yes. Even though it's kind of blown out, I still like it. Well, for y'all it's blown out. Like, for me, looking at it right now, it's not that blown out. But I really feel like whenever I get this new setup, it's gonna help. Definitely will help with filming, because it's kind of hard to draw with a lower opacity. At this point, I realized I should have erased those lines. I kind of forgot about them. Some lines I do leave in there, because I do like that look. Let's see what else to talk about. We're almost towards the end of this video. and then I'll go through the time lapse on this portion, and then I'm also going to have the official time lapse at the end. Oh, I can see some of the pixels. It's funny how it's the smallest thing that you notice, and you're like, oh Lord, I need to do something about this for next go around. Because it legit looks like I'm coloring with a stark white, but I'm really not. It's like in the blue range. It is lighter, but it's not an absolute white. I'm trying to think of who I should draw next from Honkai Star Rail. I have a piece that I'm working on with Himiko, but it's not really my absolute favorite. And I do have that character, so we shall see. I don't know, I still talked about drawing Pom-Pom. So here's the time lapse I did here. And then just kind of go through it pretty quickly. And I end up adding it at the end of this video because I figured out how. Yay! So I hope everybody's enjoyed this video, and if you're drawing along with me, I hope your drawings are going well, and your wishes and your works are going good too. As always, I hope everybody, like I said, does well, and until the next video, bye bye!